welcome to the Rebel Ballerina Show, where we learn to live a kick-ass rebel life. I'm your host, Lisa Lurie, the Rebel Ballerina. There's no farting around in this show, just straight up fun. But if your ears are sensitive, go ahead and move along. If you want a truly kick-ass life, well, then here we go. Hey, welcome to the Rebel Ballerina Show. And I just wanted to say hi. This is my first show and of many, lots and lots. There's lots and lots to talk about. And eventually I'll have some guests join me as well so that we just keep the dialogue going and have all kinds of interesting new bits of information to take into our lives, right? So anyway, I wanted to start off by saying that over the past 10 years, we've heard a lot about a certain type of person. And there are many of them. Now, I kind of marine crawled away from a marriage, not literally on my belly, but metaphorically speaking. It was like crawling away. I didn't even have enough in me to be dignified to be on my feet in a sense. So I wasn't really even sure what was really going on. I just knew that I was disappearing and my very being was not being very much anymore. And so I had to just leave. It was a really crazy time. This was not something that I ever pictured for myself. I had always thought of myself as, you make a commitment, you stick to it. I mean, goodness sakes, I put my whole entire life into my career training in ballet and actually did become a professional ballerina and still am. But and that took a lot of commitment, right? So I think I went through and discovered that by the time I did sign my contract in New York City with Joffrey 2, that I was only 18 years old. I had put in roughly 10,000 hours of training, performing, and that sort of thing. So that was a huge commitment. I didn't go hang out with friends. Well, I mean, I did because my friends were my fellow dancers, but other friends from high school, things like that. There was no time to just go hang out. So I knew all about commitment. And when I decide to do something, that's what I'm going to do. So for me to come to a place where I just had to walk away was very strange. But my alternative was worse because I really wanted to be off the planet. That was the other leaving I was contemplating. And I couldn't put my finger on it though. And that's what was so weird. I couldn't figure out what was the cause of this. I seemingly had everything, had the perfect life. From the outside, it looked like it. But I didn't really understand. All I knew is that I had to get out. And it was either I leave the marriage or I leave the planet. That's basically where I was. And it's a hard, hard place to be. And there's not a lot of support there. And there's a lot of silence there, actually, a lot of isolation. Not anybody knew. Not even my sister until I finally told her. She thought I was happy. That's the crazy thing, is that I performed happy so well that I convinced everyone. And I kept trying to do that so that I could convince myself that I was happy. But it didn't work because my subconscious was still there saying, no, you're not. You're not happy. You're fooling everyone else and you're fooling yourself to a certain degree, but you're not, and you know it. But I still didn't know why. And it was just crazy. So I got out of that marriage, and it was 20 years, by the way, a long time to be in a place of wondering what's wrong here and can't pinpoint it. Once I got out and I told my sister, and she was like, at first, when I told her I was getting divorced, she felt bad for my kids, and rightfully so, because it's really hard on children to have to go through a divorce. I know that because I went through it too with my own parents. Um, but then, I mean, like, without even taking a breath, she also said, "Thank God." And I was like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, thank God." Man, and then she had this litany, this whole list of all of these things about my ex that she and her husband, my brother-in-law, who I've known since I was 12, and even their boys, my nephews, couldn't stand my ex. But I had no idea. I had no idea because they didn't want to meddle because they thought I was happy. And, it's kind of, well, to each their own. Certainly couldn't do it myself, but she seems to be happy, so my sister never said anything. But that's why I didn't get to spend much time with her over the years because they didn't want to be with him. But I had no idea. And once she said all those things, I was like, well, then what's going on here? I know something's wrong. What's going on? And she directed me to a guy on YouTube, Richard Grannon, and I hear him describing this type of person. And then I found someone else who's describing this type of person, and so on and so forth. And so for about a decade now, I'd say, we've been hearing a lot about the takers, manipulators, and exploiters. And that's exactly what had happened to me. But I couldn't put my finger on it because my ex was really good at being just under the radar in so many ways. So most people thought that we were just the perfect family. We had it all together. We had this great life. And in some regards, there were some great things. I'm not going to say all of it was horrible. And I wasn't like tied up in a dungeon, but in a sense, I was. And that's the crazy thing. And that's where it's like this weird thing. You can't put your finger on it because I wasn't tied up in a dungeon. And yet, that's exactly how my soul felt. And I could just watch myself disappearing on a daily basis and not knowing why. So, understanding that type of person was extraordinarily eye opening. And then it made me go, oh, well, I'm glad I made the choice that I did and got out. And in so doing, his behavior became much more overt. And throughout our divorce, all and it's bad, really bad. His behaviors started to really show and just reinforced why I left. It was pretty extraordinary to see him behave the way he did and put our kids through absolute hell, just playing a game, because that's what they do. And at all costs, they'll do whatever it takes to get what they want. There's no negotiation. It's just, it's their way or it's their way. That's it. No other choice. So, over the course of the last 10 years, I've been studying this a lot. But it begs the question, okay, so these folks are around and they're doing their thing and they're wreaking havoc in people's lives. How? How is that happening? So then I had to start researching what's going on with me. How did I end up in this whole mess? And through a series of events, I discovered that there's a whole nother kind of person that's just like me. And there are a gazillion of us. We're the givers, peacemakers, empaths, people who are kind and giving and nice, and uh, so much so, though, that we become perfect prey for the takers, manipulators, and exploiters. And that was my situation. So what do we do about that? I mean, I had to really ask some hard questions of myself. Like, is how did this even happen, and why? Um, and how do I get out of it? Because I don't want to do this again. I mean, for heaven's sakes, I already felt like leaving the planet. So if I'm going to stay here, it better be a lot better than it was leading up to that. So I made this discovery about my type of person, and you might be that same type of person. You're a giver. You have a hard time. Oh, there's my producer. Hey, Jenny. You may have a hard time saying no because you want to make sure everyone's happy, right? That's our job, is to make sure everyone else is happy. That's the message that we've received. To become a person like myself. And it starts way early on, like in childhood, way early on. We learn not to rock the boat, to not speak. We don't want to, we're not to be heard. We're not to complain. Everything should be fine. And if you have a complaint, it's how dare you. You should be grateful. And not to say that there is a place for gratefulness. Absolutely. I am all about gratefulness, and we really need that kind of mindset. But we also have to understand that there are certain times that we have something to say, I don't agree with this. I don't like this. And that's okay too. But we're not given that freedom or that permission as kids, a lot of time, to vocalize what we don't like. We're shot down pretty quickly. Instead of having a conversation and, handling it with that kind of dialogue, intelligence, whatever you want to call it, it's just hey, stop your complaining. And that's it. So through things, and that's just one itty bitty example, but it's things like that that train us, condition us to just make sure everyone's happy and to hold the peace. And that comes at whatever cost as well. So on the one side, you have someone who is willing to do and hurt anybody in any way to get what they want. And then on the other hand, you have those of us who will please everyone else and say yes and put ourselves on the back burner to the point where we're not even in the kitchen anymore, at all cost. Both sides come at all cost. And the behavior is what we'll do for that result of, on the taker side, it's getting whatever they want. On the giver side is to make sure that everyone's happy, because that happiness, unbeknownst to us in this pattern, that happiness is supposedly peace and security. And that's true to some degree, because for 20 years, I kept the peace and it was fairly secure, for everyone else. But for me personally, I was evaporating. And I don't know, maybe you can relate to that. Maybe you're going, wait a second, I try to make everyone happy, but aren't we supposed to? Aren't we supposed to be kind and loving and giving? Yes, actually. We are. All of us are supposed to be that way, even the takers and exploiters, manipulators, but they've turn their back on it completely. And on the other hand, we have embraced it much too fully. And that's the problem. And learning that the underlying basis for this is that the goodness that we share a lot of times comes from fear instead of just being loving and giving, understanding, and peaceful. So we have to decipher then what's really contributing to the need to be thoughtful and giving and that sort of thing, because those are good traits. Those are good traits, and I don't want to stop being a nice person. That's like, ew. I don't want to be like the other side. So it's not a matter of giving that up and changing the giving and being nice, but it's about protecting it and discerning who should get that and who should not. There are so many takers and manipulators and exploiters out there, and we've heard now for a good decade all about it, and we see it all the time. We see it in the microcosms, like in my case, and people who are dealing with someone like that. And then we see it on a grand scale in different world events and things. So this is just a little tidbit, and I'm writing a whole book about what I've gone through, and that's still in process. I'm still writing it. I'm handwriting it, which takes longer, but I don't know. There's something about it. But can you hand me my phone real quick? Sorry. I do have, however, in case you're interested, because again, you might be saying, "Hi, I'm getting what you're saying, and you're talking about me," you know. Anyway, I just want to show you this really quick because I have, whoa, how does this work? An ebook that you can get that summarizes what's going on. Oh, okay. See, this is my first time doing this, so I'm like very green, as they say. So here is.
In front of your face.
Oh,
just put it in front of your face all the way up to the camera so they can use it.
Yeah, but it's fading out. There we go. Okay. Hopefully you can see that now. And
we'll put it up in the notes.
Yeah, we'll put it up, but I just wanted to show you really quick. So this is just a quick summary of all of that I went through. If you'd like to read it, because it might help you be able to make some discoveries for yourself about what I'm talking about, because I really truly believe that the vast majority of people are kind and giving, and they want to be helpful and understanding and such. But unfortunately, it's the smaller majority of people who are takers and exploiters, manipulators. They're much more out there and vocal and demanding, right? So anyway, I just thought I'd share some of the stuff that I'd learned about that, because I find it to be kind of extraordinary now that I've been studying it a while. And what I'd really like to see happen, and this is why I wrote that ebook and why I'm writing my full book, is because I'd like to see our conversation shift to take the spotlight off of those folks who are takers, because that's what they want. They want all of that energy given to them. I say, let's change that focus. Let's figure out who we are, who I am, and how I ended up in this place to begin with, right? Because if we can change this discourse and help people understand where this comes from, then we can do something about it. And the nice thing is, the fantastic thing is we can do something about it. Those who are the takers, it's pretty well known that they're probably not going to change, and they're not going to seek help because they view themselves as perfect. So why would they need to do anything different? Why would they need to go to counseling? Why would they need any kind of help? Because, they're perfect. So that's not going to change. However, I find that people who are like me, we want to change. We don't want to be going through this whole thing over and over again. And that's the problem, is that this is a life pattern. And until you recognize it and understand it, it is going to repeat. There's no other way around it. It's going to repeat. So that's why I want to start a new conversation and take some time. If it's decades, that's fine. But to discover who we are, the givers, and what we can do to protect ourselves from the takers and not fall into that prey cycle again, and create the life that we actually want. And that's the coolest thing, is we can actually do that. We're open to it, and it works. I'm living it right now. I'm living it, and it's amazing. And so that's why I wanted to start talking about it and see if I could help someone who might be feeling the same way I was. I don't know, maybe not at the point where they're ready to leave the planet. However, if you are, uh, we need to talk. you know, I'm hoping that you will uh, grab a ray of hope, because it really can change. And I really want you to know that. Perhaps you're not that um, in that kind of despair, but maybe depressed, or maybe feeling that strange vibe, that like, what's going on here? That something isn't right, but you can't put your finger on it. You just know that there's this strange vibe, like you're constantly walking on eggshells, or feeling like whatever your best is isn't good enough, and that you try and try to make someone happy and it's not good enough, or you give up everything about yourself for the other, and 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 that only gets taken, it doesn't get replenished, so you're just being sucked dry. And that's exactly what happened to me. So if you're feeling that or noticing that, um, this would be a good thing to start investigating, just like I had to. And again, my ebook kind of is a little synopsis, would be a good starting point for sure, because I think there are a lot of people in my same position that don't understand it. I started talking about it, as a matter of fact, and a lot of people go, "What?" Because there's an actual term for this, and this is the fawn trauma response pattern, if you will. And so when I say fawn, people are like, "What's that?" Because you've heard of fight or flight, right? Those are our typical responses, our ancient brain response to danger, perceived danger. But there is this other category. There's another one too, freeze. So fight, flight, freeze. And those have been known quantities for a good long while. But this other one is called fawn. And that's kind of a new term. It was coined by Pete Walker, a psychologist who really dove deep into these different patterns, trauma patterns, and discovered this is really what's going on in people like me. And making that discovery was huge. I started to understand, uh, okay, well, if that happened in the first place, what can I do about it? Can something be done about that? And that's the wonderful thing is yes, yes, it can. Unlike on the other side, where you have someone who's so steeped in their, well, let's face it, delusion of grandeur and their delusional reality, that they want to force the rest of us to have to live with them, they're not going to change. They're not. They're not interested in changing. But I, on the other hand, and maybe you too, not interested in staying in misery. And that's where I was. However, I will say it's amazing how long it takes to stay in misery. That was a good long while for me. A really long time. 20 years, 21 years, technically, and lots of other things prior to that. An ex-boyfriend that, yeah, made my ex-husband look like Prince Charming. And so, there's a lot here that we're willing to put up with. But the question is why? Why put up with that when we can actually have the life that we really want? And we're wasting time by putting up with this garbage and being treated like crap, even at a subtle level. Like, I was never hit. Um, we never yelled at each other, but there was just this subtle, like, understanding that I was merely a possession and not a person. And whatever I gave probably wasn't enough. And so I just continued down that road. Why? Because let's face it, we human beings, we like our comfort. And stepping outside of that comfort zone is really, really scary. It tends to be really scary, full of unknowns. And we're so caught up with wanting to keep the status quo because we know it, we understand it, and it's comfortable. But how comfortable do you have to be to stay in that kind of misery? I was comfortable to the point where I became so uncomfortable that I was wanting to leave the planet. So that's a pretty stark place to be. And I'd sure like to help someone not have to get to that degree, but go ahead and say, hey, let's step out of this false comfort zone because it's killing you. And that's the problem. We're so used to just hanging out in this comfort, or because we're so conditioned to believe that that's all there is. That's what we're here for. We're only here to give and give and give until there's nothing left. And it's okay because that's just how we're supposed to be. And we don't get to have our own opinion. We don't get to have our own person. We have to just be someone else's minion, basically. And that's just all there is to it. And that produces a strange kind of comfort. We know it, we grew up in it, we've been conditioned in it, and then we keep going in it without understanding that now our adult lives, now that we actually have power, because we didn't when we were kids, we're stuck. We have to be with the exact people who are producing this conditioning, and that's what starts this whole fawn trauma response. But as adults, we have power. We actually can make the life that we really want, but we don't know that. No one's told us that when we're growing up. That it's just not being taught how we can go about creating the life that we really want and to safeguard ourselves from the exact people that we had to be trapped with basically as kids, right? That started this trauma in the first place. So we just end up going down that same path a long, long time. Some people a whole entire lifetime. And I mean, like, really, and possibly many to an early grave because they were just like me and couldn't take it anymore and didn't know how to get out besides really getting out. And I know that there are many cases. I don't know how many cases. I don't have any scientific data, but I know that that happens. And that's literally very tragic. So I want to start this conversation where we're getting to start talking about we, the fawns, not fawns. I said Happy Days fawns. Hey, not that fawns. Fawns, FAWNS. That's us, fawns, who are the givers, the people pleasers, the peacemakers, the empaths, because we understand what people are going through. And so we're so much more apt to want to help that we become very vulnerable for exploitation and manipulation. And you might recognize that. You might recognize that in your own life. If you do, download my ebook because, again, that's a good starting place to this discovery. I've spent 10 years with trial and error and going through this and that and figuring this stuff out. And I can tell you that it's been a journey and a half, um, probably a couple of lifetimes worth of stuff in one 10-year period, but so well worth it because this is an extraordinarily huge contrast to where I was 10 years ago. Remarkably so. Thankfully, I'm here to talk about it and to help others figure it out for themselves, their own lives, how they can make some changes to help them on their path. That's what I'm wanting to do. And we've had a lot of conversation about the takers and exploiters and manipulators. I'm tired of it, to be honest. I'm tired of having to put up with listening about them. And I just had another situation where going through the same kind of process, not with an ex, but with some friends or who I thought were friends. And turns out, oh no, they're not. They're just takers and manipulators and exploiters, and I mean in serious, serious ways. So, dealing with a new, fresh situation, and this just happened this past year or so, um, where some huge changes needed to be made. And so it brought it up again. It was like, wow, it was a fresh new situation where I could see what I had already learned and I see it playing out. Um, but I'm able to now step in and say, uh-uh, I'm not going down this road any longer. And I don't have to get to a place where I'm so seriously depressed, and I don't have to be in a place where I'm nearly suicidal. I don't have to be there before I recognize this now. Now I can see it and go, ooh, nope, not doing that. And now I know how to protect myself. I call it growing some antlers. I'm a little bit crass, so sometimes I will say, grow some gonads or balls, or in my case, ovaries. Same thing. Did you know that gonads, that word actually does talk? It's in reference to both balls, testicles, to be technical, and ovaries. So it really does work. Grow some balls, grow some gonads, right? Grow some ovaries. But it's the same idea, only we're growing antlers because we're fawns. We are these little baby deer that are seemingly uh, vulnerable, and well, are until we grow those antlers, right? Then we have a range of protection around us. And that's part of what I had to learn. And that's what I now get to teach. So I'm really excited about that because why go through all of this and then keep it to myself? That doesn't make any sense to me. I learned so much valuable stuff that I can't help but want to share it. And so again, the ebook that starts the conversation that'll get you on the path as to what this is really all about. And then I'm still working on my book, my book, and I'm dancing and getting into shape, and I'll be dancing on stage and dancing and speaking this story. So looking forward to that. I'm really, really looking forward to being able to help others with their own situation. And yeah, I mean, because it's exciting. It's exciting to go from seriously depressed and seriously like, that's it, I'm done. I'm done. To now finding a life of joy and getting to live that instead. It's a pretty miraculous thing, actually. I will say that getting to that place of being just done was really freeing. And that rock bottom place. Definitely freeing. It put me in a place where I just didn't care anymore. I was so over it. I just didn't care. And that is part of the issue with us fawn types is that we care too much about what everybody thinks and how we appear and all of that kind of stuff. And uh, being in a spot where you can finally say, I don't care. I don't care what other people think. I don't care. I'm finally going to do something that I need to do for me. Because, the real question is how useful am I anyway if I am not being who I'm supposed to be? How can I actually contribute, really, especially if I'm dead? Because, see, here's the thing I was about ready to do that. Would that have helped my kids? It didn't help me when my mom died when I was 18. The difference is that she was fighting cancer. She didn't want to die, and she fought hard, hard for my benefit because she was not going to leave me with my dad at 13 years old. So she fought a good long 5 years. This second time around with cancer, the first time around was when I was about, I don't know, 5, 6. And I know she fought hard to prevent me from ending up with my dad. Here I was wanting to leave. And then my sister, bless her heart, she is a good sister. She kind of came through the phone with her words and went, and she said, how dare you? You know how devastating it was when mom died, but she didn't want to. And now you're going to do that to your own kids? To which I said, shut up. I didn't want to hear it because I knew she was right. So, how helpful is it when we are so stressed out and we are so worn down by the the constant by these exploiters and takers and manipulators that we die prematurely. My mom was only 50 years old and I still needed her. Still do. But I know that the reason that she died prematurely and the reason she ended up with cancer is because of the stress that she was under by my dad. He was doing the same thing. Everything had to be perfect. And it's just too much. It's too much. So, how many people have died because of the stress. Stress will absolutely end up causing all kinds of health problems, 100%, if we don't deal with it. And I talk about that too. There are a lot of things that can be improved upon, and I think you'll see that there's a wide array of life issues that we can do better. We can learn and change things, but are you ready to change? That's the thing. Are you going to wait until you've got one foot in the grave? Are you going to wait for that horrible diagnosis, or has already happened? It's not too late. It's not too late. It's never too late as long as you're still here. It's never too late to decide that you're willing to do something different. Maybe uncomfortable. I know it was uncomfortable for me too, but feeling stuck is not a good feeling and something needs to change, right? So, anyway, I just wanted to talk about how we can, speaking of change the discourse. And instead of having the energy going towards the takers who already take our energy, why not give the energy to us, the fawns, who are genuine, nice people? And we just want to give and be happy and be loving and be kind because it's fun. It's fun to treat other human beings with kindness and being nice. It's uplifting. And if we all did that for each other, well, utopia. But anyway, it would be great to have the spotlight on us for a while so that we can actually create some change in our own families, in our communities, maybe even worldwide. Who knows? Who knows? But if we keep going down the same path without having a new understanding of what's really going on and having us like, if anything, at best, stunted in life, we're being held down, held back, not being allowed to be who we really are. So you have that's the best situation, that's the best scenario. The worst is where I was about ready to leave the planet. And the worst is where my mom was, where she was riddled with cancer. Do we really want to continue down that road when we could shine the spotlight on why we have these traits, how we got this conditioning, and why we're so vulnerable to this exploitation, and how then we can change that and become strong people, not giving up being nice, not giving that up, but learning who to give that goodness and that kindness to, and who to have our antlers pointed at, and creating that space for ourselves of protection. So I'm hoping that you will come back and join me again for another conversation about this very topic. Lots and lots of stuff to go over. I learned so much stuff these past 10 years. It's been remarkable, really fun actually, but also really hard. Some of it's been really hard because I didn't want to have to deal with it. To be honest, I didn't want to have to deal with it. And that's part of the problem. We stay in that supposed comfort zone. It's not a good place to be. Really isn't. So, anyway, I encourage you again to check out that ebook, and we'll put it up so that you can get it here. Because I don't know if my phone thingy came through very well. This is all new too. So, lots of learning in this regard as well. Lots of flubs, I'm sure, will happen. But hey, I'll keep track of them, and someday we'll have a nice little reel of bloopers. Those are fun. I always love watching bloopers at the end of a show. It's so fun to see actors going, because they forgot their line or something. It's pretty funny. I love stuff like that. And and in my book that I'm writing, I actually am having a chapter I'm writing at the end of bloopers from on stage. It's not quite the same because I'm having to write it out instead of having it in video because I don't have them on video, but I remember them and they're really funny. And so I'm writing a chapter of bloopers from stage, from different faux pas on stage or in class and stuff. It's really fun. Anyway, so I hope you will join me again next time. And this is going to be open soon. We'll be doing this live so we can actually have some interaction and you can chime in, which I would really love for you to do that. And even with this, please comment and we can interact that way for right now. I'd love to hear your ideas or your comments on this, your feedback. And I'm still learning. So I'm learning all the time. I'm still picking up little tidbits here and there that was like, oh, that's yeah. Hadn't thought of that. Or a new angle or something like that. So, your opinion is extremely valuable, and I'd really love to hear what you have to say and how you can contribute the to this yourself. And let's get this discourse going. Let's get this conversation changed to where the energy is feeding us instead of us being exploited and being taken from and sucked dry constantly and exhausted and stressed out. Let's stop that and put the energy back into us where we can actually contribute something for real instead of being evaporated. And that doesn't really contribute anything. It only feeds one. Ugh, yeah, let's not do that anymore. So anyway, thank you for joining me today. It was fun for sure. Kind of on the serious, and that's not where I really want to be all the time. But I just wanted to let you know there's a really big thing going on, this transition, this understanding first of the exploiters, manipulators, and takers. And now an understanding is starting to happen, and I want to be part of that conversation. And so I'm really excited about that. And yeah, we're going to have fun. We are going to have fun rebuilding lives and helping people who are just like me be able to step out and become who they really are and have a tremendous life of joy and happiness. So join me in this journey, and I'll see you next time.